Brent Porcy of TopVelocity.net. Welcome to episode 3 of at TopVelocity #pitching tips show, right? So if you got a question that you want me to answer, I'm kind of enjoying this. Episode 3, it's been fun getting good questions. I need some more though. You can go to twitter.com and post your question at TopVelocity #pitching tips. And then I'm going to try to put it into the next show. So I've got some set up here for this episode. The first one comes from Austin Gobber, and you know what? I'm really bad at reading names. If I destroyed your name, I'm sorry. He says, is it possible to be throwing 95 plus by my senior year when I'm throwing 81 at 15? Of course it's possible, man. I believe anything's possible. That's why we do this, right? Like I tell my guys, if we could throw 120 miles an hour, we'd do it. So, but I mean, possibility. How do I know it's possible, right? How do I know it's possible in you? I really don't. But I believe in the mind. I believe in the spirit. I believe in desire and pure desire and how that can change the game completely. I did it to myself. Came out of surgery, 18 years old. Doctor said I'd never play again. Hardest I'd probably thrown was somewhere in the mid to upper 80s. And then not only did I play again, but I wind up touching or topping out at 94 and getting to play some minor league professional baseball. So, you know, was it possible for me? Yes. Did the doctors think so? No. And they were wrong. So it's like I would never put someone in a place and say, no, it's not possible. I believe anything's possible. But, you know, at the same time, too, we've got to be realists here. We can't just, you know, say, hey, it's possible. I know it's possible, and then not doing anything about it. Now, it's critical that you do something about it, and that's what we do with the 3X Pitching Velocity programs. Is it's built to take the guy who has the desire, who believes in the possibility, and it makes sure that he actually achieves his goals. Because there's a lot of guys out there who just spin their wheels, man. They just spin their wheels in these programs that really aren't built to get them to a high velocity level. They were built for general training. You know, they were built for you know, joint integrity or arm care, but they weren't built for performance enhancement. You know, baseball is one of the most ineffective sports when it comes to really enhancing potential or really reaching that peak potential. Baseball is not really good at all at training it and developing. Baseball is really good at just making sure, or what they think is making sure you're healthy, that you're healthy, you're mechanically sound, your joint integrity is there. But at the same time too, we have more injuries every year. So you got to start thinking, does baseball, even as far as the mentality, the conventional wisdom of baseball, is it really giving me the best information? I truly don't believe so. So that's why I look outside of baseball a lot, because it really doesn't have a lot of the answers, guys. I look outside of baseball. I see what football players are doing. I see what Olympians are doing. I see what, whatever chess players are doing. I don't know. I mean, anything that's going to give me some outside information, because then I'll come back to baseball and I'll realize, wow, we were probably looking at it completely wrong. And I think you need to do the same, because if you're trying to do something that a rare few people can do, which is Austin, which is throw 95 miles an hour, you got to make sure you've got the best information. And that typically takes, I don't care what sport you're in, it typically takes looking across the board and trying to find that information, not just pigeonholing yourself and just looking at it out of one specific thing like baseball. So yeah, it's possible, man, but you've got to make sure you're on the right road, because you can very easy get on the wrong road. And there's tons of guys watching this video who know they got on the wrong road. And if you are taking all that passion because you really truly believe you're that guy, and you get on the wrong road, it'll burn you out, frustrate you, and cause you to quit. So you do got to make sure you're on that right road. And that's what we try to do here with the 3X and even the 2X programs. All right, next question. I got to go way down for this one because I forgot to answer it in the last episode. This is from Gary Haspard. Once again, I'm probably destroying people's names. After scap load, how far behind the head does the ball go? Very good question. Now that's going to be called horizontal abduction. Remember, abduction, as far as shoulder abduction, is when the arm moves away from the body. On a horizontal plane, it's when the elbow moves behind the back. Okay? So horizontal abduction is how we pull the elbow behind the back, behind the head, to really load the arm and get all that good external rotation and force on the arm, so then it unloads and generates all that ball speed. But how far does it go? That's a very good question, Jerry. And the answer really is it's a double-edged sword, unfortunately. If we go too far, actually, if sometimes, mechanically going too far is a problem too. If we go too far, then we become very rotational, because then I'm starting to actually spin around. But I want to take it as far back as it goes to where really I feel that scap loaded. Now be careful, because you could strain the front of your cuff, you could strain your elbow. When you go into external rotation, if you really, really slam it out into horizontal adduction. Okay, so the point is studies do show the farther we go back and pinching that blade. Now we're not talking the glove side. The glove side has a big negative when it comes to loading, because high velocity pitchers do not pull the glove side left to right. They don't pull it back that far. They'll tuck it a little bit, but they tuck it way less than a low velocity guy. When a low velocity guy tries to pull it, they'll tuck it a little bit, but more of the abduction comes from the backside. Okay, that's where we're really trying to get it. Not as much here. Now it looks like it, because some guys hit front foot and they start pulling it and they're in the early trunk rotation, and it looks like they're pulling their glove sides hard, but that's because there's some trunk rotation involved. You got to understand here, it's just a little tuck on the glove side, but you're really, really pulling the elbow up and going into external rotation and pinching and loading that blade and getting as far back as I can. Because if I leak my arm out here, say if I'm throwing towards the door there, if I leak my arm out here, if it's just sitting right here, it's not going to get a lot of external rotation or have time to get external rotation before I can release that ball. So I do want to pinch that blade and get it behind my head as much as I can. But like I said, it's a double-edged sword. If we go too far, we can strain the shoulder, we can strain the elbow. So you've got to find that happy medium. Of course, less, if you can throw harder with less, that's what you want. But sometimes you do got to go back there to get a little bit more. But be careful, because I truly believe if you just learn a good leg drive so you can get your hips through faster, then you don't have to go so far back. So to me, if you really want to find the best place, learn to pinch the blade before you go into arm cocking so you can load it back. But balance how far it goes back with how hard you're driving your hip, or how much hip to shoulder separation you're creating. To me, hip to shoulder separation is really, really where you should get most of your torque, and then the arm should try to get a little bit of the rest. I hope that answers your question. I know it's kind of a long, complicated answer there, but you are talking about pitching, and when you talk about pitching, if you're not paying attention to the entire kinetic chain, you can really get in trouble, or you can really go down the wrong road, right? Okay, now we've got last one. I'm gonna answer here. It says, what are your thoughts on landing heel to toe versus landing toe first? This is typically comes up in a very conventional way, right? Coaches waste their time coaching how to land the foot. I believe the foot will land. It'll land the way it's supposed to land. It's like you don't hear sprinting coaches or speed coaches talking about how you should land your foot all the time, or like it's that important. They might talk about it a little bit if they feel like there's some dysfunction there, but I wouldn't think that much. So how do you land your foot pitching? Well, if I'm a long strider, I'm gonna have to land on my heel. That's just the angles. If I'm a long strider, my back leg is vertical or linear. My front leg or force vector is linear. That means my toe's up. And if I'm striding as long as I can, or as long as I can still be effective, I'm gonna go heel toe. Try to land flat, but you're probably gonna go heel toe. Or it's gonna be a little roll heel to toe. And that's fine. You're a long strider. It'd be like go run down the street as fast as you can.
As fast as you can and try to go toe heel.
It's impossible. So if you're striding fast and explosive, you're gonna roll more heel toe. Now you don't wanna heel strike and then slap your foot. But the point is, if that's occurring, it has nothing to do with how you're trying to land. It has to do with how you're getting to your landing. Okay, and I think that's where coaches go wrong. They're trying to correct the foot when that's not the source of the problem. The source of the problem is the force vector, is how they led with the hip, how fast they've gone down the mound, how they opened their front foot. That's the problem, not how they're landing with their foot. So the answer to that is, of course, we go heel toe if you're a long strider. But you do have guys going toe heel that are short striders. Matt Moore, when he was more short striding, he would go toe heel, and then he would long stride and he'd go heel toe. It's truly built off the stride length. So there's really no answer. I just say heel toe because I want you to be a long strider. But remember, If you're worried about how your foot lands, it's because you have no idea what you're doing to get there, which is where most of your problems are. All right, so I hope that answers your question. I see some buzzing in right now. Let's see if I got another one here. Actually, I'll save that for the next show. So I appreciate you guys sending your questions in. Like I said, put a question up on Twitter at TopVelocity hashtag pitching tips, and I'd be glad to answer your question. All right, guys, so keep working hard and keep throwing hard.